Welcome to Real Talk with Tina and Ann. I am Ann, and Tina will be back soon. Today, we are having Miss Betty Smith on our program, and she is not like any other woman that I've ever met or heard of before, honestly. Miss Betty, I am honored to have you on Real Talk. This is a place where we talk about uplifting stories, and yours is definitely one. I've met you before, and I was able to interview you, but it was years and years ago. And I have
Right.
to tell you, though, I never forgot
Mhm.
you. You
Thank you.
really, really left an impression on my heart and me
Thank you.
wanting to make a difference in other people's lives. So
Thank
I
you
want
so
to thank
much.
you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on your show. I feel very honored and privileged to be on your show.
You know, I saw you in a parade the other day, and your energy was like off the charts. And I saw a post that you put up that said that you made it, 2.2 miles. And I would say that you actually danced 2.2 miles. So,
Yeah, I had so much fun.
yeah, I
I, you
mean,
know, and you know what? And I was so blessed to be able to do it because I didn't know if I could because I had the emergency open heart surgery in February.
right.
And then I broke a toe. And then July, I was in ER for dehydration. And I said, I am going to do this parade. So that's why I put the post up that I made it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the whole time with the kids and dancing to the cadences and just had a great time.
yeah, I
Had a
could
great time.
tell. I could
Yeah.
tell. You have such a childlike spirit, and your energy is so infectious. I mean, what has made you this way?
And I've always been very kind of like involved in athletics and exercise and everything from a small girl. I used to turn cartwheels. I don't know what the kids call them today. We call them cartwheels. And my mother used to say, every time I'm looking for you, you're upside down, because I'm
Oh,
just,
jeez.
and I had all this energy and she's trying to corral me, right, with all this energy. So I used a lot of that energy to work with the young kids in my neighborhood. I mean, we were very poor and growing up. I mean, we were dirt poor. I didn't know we were so poor because we had a lot of love.
Oh,
And my mother's house was open to any and everybody. She had 7 children. My
oh
dad
my
died when
goodness.
she was a widow at 28.
Oh my
And
goodness.
God did bless her with a husband 5 years later. He was 20 years older than her, but he was wonderful to us. And there were 7 of us. But to say all that, we just had a lot of people in our yard, and we only had a 2-bedroom home. But I told mother every piece of furniture is a bed. We'd pull out the chairs and the sofas, and then in those days you could sleep outside. It
Oh
was warm
wow.
and it was safe. So in
Okay.
the summer, we just put blankets outside and sleep outside. And so I always had a lot of energy. Probably in that day, they might have said I was ADHD or something, or ADD, because I had so much energy.
It-
But I was always wanted to be busy. And I always worked with the young people, even though I was young.
right.
But I always
Oh,
gathered them together, and did something, not realizing this was going to be, this was the calling on my life. And
yeah.
I just feel like God was preparing me for what I'm doing now, really, you
You
know?
know, yeah, I was just going to say how you always had a connection with kids. I mean, I can remember it years ago, and I can definitely see it now. I mean, they respect you, they look to you, they listen to you, and, that's really saying something in this day and age. So, I
Right.
mean, what makes it so that connection is there with the young people? Where did it originate? Which you say it happened when you were younger.
When I was younger, and I would gather all the kids together, I just wanted to be busy. And so they were doing nothing. And I'm like, okay,
Oh,
let's do this. And I would plan little things, and I'd make little invitations on cards and pass them out to the kids in the neighborhood. And then I'd say, well, what do you want to do? And we would
oh
get,
my
we
gosh.
had a little, we just did a lot of things together. Some of the things the kids don't even do together. We played something called jacks, where you have these
Oh,
jacks and then you throw the ball and you catch them and all that stuff. And then we made our own little scooters. And we had boxcar racing, and you build your own boxcar. So we didn't have money, so we had to do the best we could with what we had. And
See,
a lot of this teamwork, with the kids.
and
So that's where it
imagination,
started. Yeah,
imagination. I mean,
most definitely.
what a lot of kids are lacking today because of
Right.
social media and
That's
everything else
right.
that's going on.
That's exactly right. And then, also, I loved music. I always loved music. And so I remember I started, my mother, like I said, my mother, she was a domestic and she would just get extra jobs and she bought me a piano because I'd be taking my fingernails and clicking on glass and, trying to sing with that, that sound of the glass. And so I heard her
Oh,
say, I've got to get
geez.
her a piano. So
Okay.
she took an extra job to make $50 to buy me this upright piano. And
Oh,
so I played by ear. I could hear a song and then I would sit down and play it and the kids would come in and sing. And so we belonged to church. And so I started a little choir at the church. And so this music has been part of me all my life. And then when I started taking lessons, I played clarinet. I was in the orchestra. I was in the marching band.
oh,
I was also in choir, and we had a little group called Four Jacks, and I was Jill.
oh
So it's
my
Four
goodness.
Jacks and a Jill,
That's
and we
awesome.
were listen, and we were good. We even eventually joined the union, and
Oh,
at that
wow.
time, the union was we played 3 hours, and our rate of pay was $3.33 an hour.
Oh my goodness.
But with that little money, I could help mother buy my school books and things like that, you know? So music, that's why I'm in music now.
Right.
It's been a part of me. It kept me grounded and it got kids off the street and we sing and we belonged, every time there was a talent show or something at the school, we participated, and we just had
Mm-hmm.
fun. Yeah. Yeah. So it all started. See, I always tell young people, you don't know sometimes why you do what you do, but you'll be planning. I think God is planting a seed for what's going to be happening later in your life. So
Amen.
just embrace those things.
I say it all the time. Absolutely. I mean, everything is a stepping stone to where we're going.
I believe that most definitely. And so that's how from a young girl, 10, 11 years old, and then going into music, getting to the high school and the band and the swing band and all. Yeah, we had swing band too. I forgot about that. But I was in all the music things. And then I also was in sports. I love basketball. But, and in those days, women played on a half court and you could only dribble the ball 2 times,
Oh,
because women not supposed to be doing sports, right? So you
right.
get a half court. And I said, I play the full court. And they said, no, 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 you can only do half. And so it was very frustrating for me,
Yeah.
because 2 steps, you only dribble to the ball twice, then you have to pass it. I know, yeah, anybody listening will probably say, this is crazy,
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, that's really the way it was.
Right.
We did that. But anyway, it's just so, all of those things in sports. And so, and then I ran track when I was in school.
Okay.
So I've always been busy and athletic, you know. And then I got into the healthy eating thing, and I'm not even sure where that started. I used to be very heavy. I
Oh,
used to weigh like 167 pounds, and all growing up, I was heavy, even though I was active.
okay.
But when I turned 18 and moved to Chicago with my aunt, it was hard for me to find a job because in those days they really discriminated. If you were heavy,
Oh
they
my
they didn't want me to
goodness.
be the reception. I'm serious. And I
Oh.
had one gentleman say, "You need to lose some weight." And I said, "Excuse me?" And he says, "Well,
Mm,
you don't want to a boss doesn't want a real heavy set receptionist sitting at the desk." And it was very
mm,
like, wow. So I
mm.
went on a diet. Although I needed to lose weight because it wasn't healthy.
Right.
But I lost the weight and I liked the way I looked. I said, well, I do look better. I do feel better. But how dare you say you won't hire me because I'm heavy? But in those days, you could do it and get by. Couldn't do
Right.
that today. Discriminate. But, I lost the weight and I kept it off. And then I really got into eating healthy and saying, oh, I shouldn't be eating this. And this is really, I need to eat more fruit. Oh, I need to drink more water. Okay. And that's kind of been part of me,
Mm-hmm.
from like age 18.
Mm-hmm.
Now that doesn't mean that I don't sometimes eat French fries or a piece of cake or something. I'm not
Right.
that strict. A lot of people
Right.
today are really strict, and
Right.
I'm not. No, I do moderation, in what I eat and try to keep my weight down. But I'm active, and I'm glad I am, because now I'm working with these children
Right.
and the drum line, and I march with the drum line. So I told him, I
Right.
said, I always try to be the example. I said, now I'm 84. And I
Oh,
said, if I can do this, you can do this.
yes.
Don't let me outdo you. And sometimes I still can with the young people. I worked out with them when they were practicing for the grand parade, and some of them, they were winded. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not huffing and
Hmm.
puffing.
Hmm.
Come on, young people. But see, our young people today don't take care of themselves the way they should. They
Right.
don't eat healthy. They do a lot of fast foods. They do a
Right.
lot of sugar and
Right.
these energy drinks. Terrible.
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
terrible, you
Horrible.
know?
Yeah. I don't let
Yeah,
my kids touch them. Right.
no, good for you. They shouldn't. So, I just give back what I have. I use the experiences that I had when I was growing up and things, and just try to make their life better.
Well, you were
I try to teach
disciplined.
them,
Yeah.
but yeah. And I did it. I had a wonderful mother. She worked very hard, and she instilled good values in us. And I remember she was domestic, and I used to go to work with her, and we'd be on our hands and knees scrubbing floors and cleaning toilets and stuff. And she always say, "Oh, you missed a spot. Go back and do it again.
Wow.
Any job
Mm.
worth doing is worth doing it right the first time." So she
Hmm.
taught me
Hmm.
so much from her. And she only had 10th grade education, but she was very
Hmm.
wise woman. And she taught us that living is giving.
Mm.
She
Oh, I
always said,
love that.
and I say, Mom, you can't afford to do that. She said, God will give it back to me. Don't worry. We can feed another person.
Mm.
I can help this person. And she never wanted for anything. She just didn't. So that's instilled in me and a lot of my siblings. You give, and God will give it back to you. And so this is from a young child up to me now, this age, and still working with young people. And I love it. It keeps me young. Even when I had my health issues and everything, I bounced back,
Right.
because I say, my work's not finished. I'm
Yeah.
still here.
It's about your outlook.
Yes.
Definitely. When you mentioned how you went to Chicago to live with your aunt, um,
Hmm.
that's where a lot of this originated. Isn't that correct? Where you just started doing a lot of these things in Chicago. I mean, what exactly were you able to start there?
Well, some of it started when I was in my hometown of Logansport, Indiana, working with the youth in the choir. I played piano and the little
Okay.
small organ for my church.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had the administrative skills that I didn't even realize what I had.
Mm.
I always loved to play school. After school was out, I set up my own school. And my mom always said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm playing school. I'm going to have the kids over, and we're going to have math. I'm going to do English." And I'm like, and I had fun.
Right.
Again, that was another thing that prepared me for where I am. So when I moved to Chicago at 18, then I got involved with was a small church at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I got involved with their choir. The church had less than 100 members, and the church grew and grew, and I was able to work with the
Wow.
church and with the pastor. And I learned so much about music and about administration, more than what I ever thought I'd learn. Our
Wow.
church grew to 25,000 members,
Oh my
from
gosh.
less than 100 to 25,000. Bishop Arthur M. Brazier, may he rest in peace. He was like my father. My mother said, "Take care of my daughter. She's young. She's here in Chicago." And he became like my father, and his
Okay.
family became like my family. But we went to 25,000 members,
Oh my
built a
gosh.
mega church. It's still there. He's passed
Wow.
away. His son pastors it now.
Okay.
And I tell you, I've had so much experience in there working with the choir, working with we work with there's a group called the Sinfonietta. They were part of the Chicago Symphony.
Okay.
And I got to work with them. I got to meet the person that started it. I had so much exposure. I had a television show. I started a recovery home in
Oh my
Chicago for women,
gosh. Mm.
women with that had children and they were on drugs. I started that. It became a model for the state called Forever Free. And I worked with Catholic Charities for 28 years. And we had a major department there where I worked with children. I worked with senior citizens. They gave me full range to create programs. And they said, now you have to raise the money. You can create them. And, and I did that. And I did that, like I said, for 28 years. It was just phenomenal. I'm still working with my church. And I worked with young people in my agency. The city gave us money in the summer, and I might have 200 kids working for me. I had a senior program. I had 150 seniors that worked for me. And the biggest program I had, it was under what they called CETA, Comprehensive Employment Training Act.
Okay.
And I remember one night, my boss called me, and it was like 10 o'clock. He said, Betty, I'm going after a contract, but it's going to be major if we get it. And I need to know, do you think you can handle it? Because we'll have to hit the ground running and get it set up in 30 days. And I said, of course I can, So sure enough, it was like 1.2 million. We had 1,100 people that worked for us. I set up 110 work sites, and I had 40 staff. And I put that together in 30 days. I worked day and night and put together a dynamite staff. We had 1,100, I'm telling you, 1,100. And it was just for a short period of time in the summer. And I look back now and I'm like, we do it. But I had a great staff. I'm still in touch with some of those people today.
That's
that
amazing.
Worked with me. Yeah, that worked with me.
Great people follow you, it seems like. I mean, you're a miracle maker.
You know what? God is the head of my life. And I love people. I love working with people. I like challenges. I like to be able to be creative and surround myself with people that are creative and just want an opportunity to work and have good work ethics.
Right.
And because that makes my job easier, because I don't know everything. So you find people that know what you don't know.
Right.
And then you make a team, then you come together and you could do so much. One person can't do it all. Some people think, oh, I can do this. No, you can't. And you'll soon burn out, which, I went through that too, a burnout.
Okay.
But when you surround yourself with people that know things that you don't know, then you make a team. That's what good management is. It's building the team of people around you that have skills that you don't have. And that's what I've always done. I can always learn from somebody else. I don't know it all. I don't pretend to know it all.
Could you tell my 9-year-old that right now? Because she tells me that she knows it all. Isn't it funny? Yeah. The older you get, the less you know,
Okay. I tell my young people, I said, I'm still learning. I say every day I want to learn something new.
Yep.
I want to challenge myself. I said, you never know too much. You and there's so much knowledge out there that you can acquire.
I'm always researching.
Learn from other people.
Yep.
Yeah. Learn from other people. So, I told her, do that. So that's been my life. And that's been,
When you talk about people that you've surrounded yourself with, not to name drop, but I think one of the people that might be Oprah Winfrey. Is that correct?
Well, when I opened my recovery home, I remember I was visiting with my mother, and I got a phone call from my staff. They said, we got a call from Oprah Winfrey's office, and she wants to put some of the ladies from our recovery home on TV. Okay. Can you get back here? So I went back and I talked with the producer of her show, and she said, we're not exactly sure how Oprah wants to construct this whole show, but I'll be in touch. So they did. And so I went on the show, and then Oprah was there, and she had the ladies on the show, and I got to, talk with her, and I met with her. And so she was very nice, very, very nice. And she kind of changed some of the things from what we were doing. And I said, wow, this is really phenomenal, what she's doing. And it was on that particular show where Oprah said, I tried a little drugs when I was younger. And that
Okay.
was the first time she said she had ever told anybody that she tried drugs. It's because the women on my show,
Right.
were recovering from drugs.
Yeah, they were so
And so,
transparent.
afterwards, we got a chance to shake her hand and to talk with her. But I tell you, the person that I met, who I'm still friends with today, was Michael Jordan's mother, Dolores.
Oh, wow.
She came by the recovery home and she fell in love with the children. She fell in
Mm,
love with the children. She fell in love with the children, and she just we just hit it off. She was just
mm.
wonderful. I was invited to a party that Michael had, and I talked with him. I talked with Michael, and I said, I admire you. You're such an awesome basketball player. I said, but I'll tell you who I admire more: your mom. I said,
Mm-hmm.
she's the bomb. I said,
Mm-hmm.
she's so wonderful. She comes by the recovery home and everything. And then at that time, his sister was in my choir. I said,
Oh,
and your sister sings in my choir. He says, oh, good. That's good for her. I said, well,
mhm.
you need to come by sometime,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that was my encounter and so when I moved to Canton, Mrs. Jordan, she came several times to support me in the programs that I have.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's been here. And then I saw her in June. I saw her in June when I was in
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, and I hadn't seen her in a while and I hadn't spoken with her. And so I said, "Oh wow." I said, this is just wonderful. So anyway, she said, "Betty, I'm still working over in Africa." And she's building this, I think it's a medical center. And I think she was just about finished with it. And I said, well, we kind of lost touch. So she made sure I got her number. So if I can call her, but she's just a wonderful woman. And then Michael Jordan was just here for the enshrinement. I think one of
Oh,
his friends was being inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
okay.
So Michael was
Okay.
just here,
Okay.
and but I didn't reach out to him or anything. I don't even know if he would still remember me because it was some time ago now. His mom, of course, just saw
Right.
her. But I've been able to meet some wonderful people, in doing this work. Mhm.
Well, let's,
Halle Berry, too. I think I tell you, met Halle Berry.
and she's from Ohio.
She's from Cleveland.
Yeah.
When I did my recovery home, I remember one day walking into the conference room and this little tiny little cute person with a little cap on stood up and she says, "Hi, my name is Halle." And I'm like, "Halle?" I didn't recognize her. And she took the cap off. She says, "Halle Berry." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." She said, "I hope it's okay
I
that
bet
I'm
you.
here." She says, "I'm getting ready to do this movie called Losing Isaiah." And she said, "I
Um,
told them I wanted to do the research." And they said, "Well, you need to go see Betty." My name was McDaniel then. "Go see Betty McDaniel. She has a recovery home." So that's why she came. Well, the women in my program read the script. They say, "We need to change some things. First of
mm,
all, we don't talk like this." She said, "Change it." She said, "I told them I want it to be real." So
mm.
some of the ladies in my recovery home, Forever Free, they changed part of the script. And then
Oh,
she showed them her wardrobe. They said, "We don't dress like that. We're druggies. We don't dress like that." She says, "Well, what should I wear?" So they had input on that.
that's
So
great.
when it was time to film, part of the women from my recovery home were in the first scene of the movie
Oh
Losing
my
Isaiah.
gosh. Okay.
And my name is in the credits.
Okay.
Betty McDaniel and Forever Free. We're in there, and that was an awesome movie. If you haven't seen it or whoever's watching it, watch that movie about a mother who lost her child because she was on drugs. And it's a real story. It's a real
Mm.
story. So I had a big part in that. So it was
That
wonderful.
that is amazing. That is just amazing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you started a lot of organizations now in Canton, Ohio, and one of them was multi-development services,
Of Scott
and
County.
that was
Mhm.
an arts program. Am I right?
Well, you know what? It started out when and I always say that God has had his hand on my life all my life.
Yes.
And I remember that when I got married to Reverend Smith and moved here, my minister said to me, "Betty, you have a work to do in Canton." And I said, "No, I'm retired." I
Mm,
said, "My husband has a little small church and I'm going to work in his church." He says, oh, I'll give you just a little short while and you'll be working. And, it was 3 months it was like, I really heard this voice, or it was in my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
It said, you can't retire. There's too much work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't even know where I am. I just gotten there. And so I talked to my husband and he said, well, there's a school down the street. Why don't you go down and see if there's something you can do? Long story short on that, I opened up what I called Minority Development Services of Stark County.
Okay.
And so I started working with a lot of minority families and helping the mothers and with the children. And then my population kind of changed on me. And I said, oh, I'm working with all kinds of families. I'm working with Hispanics and I'm working with the Caucasian family. I'm working with this and I'm working with that. And so I said, and my board said, we need to change the name because we're not just working with minorities. So we changed it to Multi-Development Services of Stark County.
Okay.
That's how that came about.
Okay.
And I tell you, Ann, in 3 months, I had 71 clients. 3 months' time. There was such a need for mothers and children, similar to what I did in Chicago with Catholic Charities. Right. And so someone said, well, why don't you open up a recovery home? I said, no, you have one here called Conquest. And I can refer moms to them if they need that kind of service. Right. And so that's what I did. But I had children's programs. I started after school youth program. That's where the arts came in. And I had music. I had choir. Yeah, and I had sports. We had soccer. We had swimming. We played a little basketball. And we did theater. So you see, that was preparing me for something later. And I didn't realize that at the time, see? So I did all of that. And then I opened a homeless shelter. And I opened up transitional housing. In 1 year, I had 5 pieces of paid for property. I didn't know these foundations. I had never written a grant because Catholic Charities wrote all of my grants. Okay. And so I started just writing from my heart because at that time, the grants were pretty easy to write. The requirements weren't not like they are today. And they started funding me. And I had 5 pieces of property. I mean, it was the Hoover Foundation, it was the Timken Foundation, Sisters of Charity, I mean, it was just all of the major foundations. And people were like, how did you get this money? I said, I just wrote a proposal. I want to help people. And they loved, my passion for the community and for for people in the communities, particularly families and children. And so we opened this beautiful, I took an old, really the house was on demo list. And I was able to get the house. And I believe it was the Stark Community Foundation bought that house for me. And then I got money from the city of Canton to renovate the house. Wow. And then the Dougal Foundation gave me money to buy all the furnishings. And it was a beautiful home. I rebuilt it. I put in all new flooring, carpet, drapes. It was beautiful. And so I asked the mayor, his name was Watkins then, I said, why don't you come and cut the ribbon? So he said, I'd be happy to. Well, when he saw the home, he said, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. He said, I can live in a home like this. This is wonderful. I said, well, I'll tell you what, if you ever become homeless, give me a call. But you know what? It was beautiful. I mean, it really was. And then a couple of years later, I said, well, I need a transitional house where once these homeless people, they need a place to go. So I need transitional, something they can transition into. So a person named Tom Sherry, he's passed away. He said, Betty, I've got an apartment building. If you can fix it up, you could just use it. So I was able to get some people to come and fix it up. Once again, I fixed it up really, really nice. And so the women could go from there into transitional housing. Okay. And my final place was, I had a nice home down the street. And I said, if a mother can get through the homeless shelter to transitional, then she'll need a place of her own. So then she went into this other home with her family. She stayed there 2 years, then we found her own home. So it takes time. It's like a 3-year, I did this even in Chicago with a recovery home. you can't recover in 30 days. They'll say, go to 30-day detox or 30.
Oh
You
yeah.
can't
No.
recover, right?
Right.
So I would keep those mothers up to a year in Chicago in my
Oh,
recovery home.
that's amazing.
And then I had a transitional house there. And then we found them home. So I knew the process. So
Mm.
you see, that was getting me started in Chicago to work it in Canton, except it wasn't a recovery home, but it was a homeless shelter.
But you got
So, I
it.
mean,
You
and I have so many
understood.
stories. We would talk for days about all the stories and the places where God, put me to help. It's all about what my mom told me, living is giving.
Mm.
And because, when you're in this work, you can't be in this work for money. You
Oh,
make
right.
very little money in social work. And for
Hmm.
years, I made no money. I just did it.
Hmm.
And right now I just get a small stipend. But if people think they're going to open up a 501c3 and work with families and make a lot of money, they're mistaken. And a lot of people go into
Right.
it for that,
No.
and that's the wrong reason. You have to
Hmm.
have that passion. You have to have that love for people and you want to do good by them. It's not,
Right.
it's not about a paycheck. And I don't hire people that say, well, I need a job. No. Do you need this kind of job? Do you have a
Mm-hmm.
passion for the kids? Do you
Hmm.
love it? If they don't, they can't work here. And you could
Right.
never work for me if you didn't have the passion. You couldn't do it.
Right.
You just couldn't do it.
Well, I used to
So,
be a director of a battered women's shelter, and we
mhm,
too had the exact same kind of setup, but it wasn't
mhm.
as long. And I really appreciate your passion and your knowledge for knowing that and allowing the women to be set up for success,
Oh, yeah,
or
definitely.
because
Yes.
that's what you really want to do. I mean, if somebody is standing in front of you and they are homeless, or when I worked in the jail system and they really want a second chance, you have to help set them up for success. And that's what
Have
you're
to.
doing.
Yes. And another thing we're doing now, I met with the staff of the that work with juvenile court and the probation department. These are young people
Right.
that just do dumb stuff
Yeah.
and they have misdemeanors. And so I said, send me some of those young people for community service that have to do community service.
Yeah.
And let me give them something, an education, and get them involved in the arts. And they can work their
Mm,
hours off here while we're educating them so they don't come back into your system.
right.
So I've been wanting to do that for quite a while, but now that we've got the facility and we have more programs and things, but we just started this last week.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, in fact, we just got our first referrals yesterday to young
Okay.
people. And we'll work with them.
Oh,
And
how
we work with the jobs
wonderful.
people. Yeah, we work with the jobs people and those who are receiving a check, and you have to work to get your check. And so we've got 3 of them working here now. They're doing a wonderful job. These are talented
See,
young
you're
people.
just giving
You
them a
know,
chance. And
there
you're
you
teaching
go.
them the skills, because there's nothing more
Yes,
important than, young people learning life skills and job
right,
skills and all the things that
right.
make them an independent, productive adult.
Right. And the discipline, it has to be there. You have to be on time. You have to dress appropriately.
Right, right.
These are the things that we teach them. We instill in them the values and things and life skills so that when you leave here and you go to a job, you'll be ready. And so I'm very talented. One young lady, she's very good with the computer.
Oh,
So she's helping us and things.
see,
So that's what
it,
it's all about. Yeah. One young man said, well, I really like to clean. So maybe I could help you clean the building. I'm like, well, of course, we always need somebody to help us keep the
sure,
building clean. He
sure.
said, but you'll have to train me. I don't know how to do everything. And I said, well, that's why you're
Hmm.
here. And he's worked out. So he was with me this summer and they let me keep him over now because he's still got some time that he needs to work on and they pay him. So that
Hmm.
helps me too.
Hmm.
But he's learning and he loves it here and we love him.
Yeah, it's honing in on
Yeah.
those skills that they love and be able to
Yes.
teach them new
Yeah.
skills and how to do it out there in the world. I mean, oh my gosh,
Exactly.
what you're doing is amazing.
I love it. I love what I do. I mean, and this is why I get up in the morning, and I always say, God, what are
Mm,
you going to do today?
mm,
And what challenges am I going to have today that I know I'll meet them?
mm.
Because, like I say, I have a strong faith. And I just look forward to coming here and working with the kids. And now we have an affiliation with the Blue Coats. I could remember a couple of years ago, I went to Foundations for Money. I said, I really need some capacity building money. See, I've been working basically with part-time staff. and college students. College
Mm-hmm.
students, they helped me put this program together. That's all I had. And I used to just do everything, the bookkeeping, I was everywhere. I wore about 10 hats.
Mm.
And so then when I went to the foundations, who have always been good to me, they said, Betty, you need a couple of things. You need sustainability and you need a succession plan. And so this is where the Blue Coats was always there to try to help me out because we have drumline. And so we talked about how they could help me. And what we came up with was an affiliation agreement where they would put some of their board members on my board and vice versa. And then I'd be a non-voting member on their board, and their CEO and CFO, COO would be non-voting members on my board. And then they would help me like with fundraising. And so that this program can be around a long time. When I'm no longer working in this program or here, this program has to go on because it's so valuable to the community. So then I talked with Mr. Ted Swaldo, who is the founder of Gervasi Vineyard, and he is also connected with the Blue Coats. His son was in the Blue Coats when he was younger.
Wow.
And I told him, I said, for 5 years, I've been praying for a building. I want one story with a lot of windows, because the building I had been in, we're kind of in the church basement and there was not any windows per se. So I tell you, in a short period of time, he found the old Ziegler Tire building on the corner of 9th and Market. And he says, I got the perfect building for you. And I tell you, he transformed this building into
Oh my goodness,
just a state-of-the-art fine arts building.
Oh,
I mean,
is it all done? Is it
it's
completed?
all, yes, it's completed. And you'll have to come by for a tour.
Oh, I want
And that
to.
can be another show where we just take a tour of this facility and show the 2 art rooms that I have, the 2 dance studios, the huge drumline room, and a state-of-the-art kitchen for our creative cooking class. And we can feed the kids a well-balanced meal after school. And we did it this summer for camp.
Do you have a garden too?
We have a garden on the corner of 7th and Fulton Road. The kids grow vegetables, and then we have lots of flowers. We have butterfly garden. And then we use some of that food out of the garden for cooking. And the young lady that does the cooking, she uses that, the food out of the garden, and she teaches them about eating healthy and all that kind of good stuff. It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. So we have the creative cooking, and that's a very popular class. Even I've had parents say, I need to be in that class, because our kids they eat a lot of junk.
Right.
And we give them fruit and vegetables when they were having the lunch here. Then we'll do after school, because I get some of the kids as early as 3:30. Well, they haven't eaten since lunch. So now we'll be able to give them a full course dinner, and then they'll go to study hall, and then they will go to their class. And I have them till about 6:15. So before, when I had them after school, we only had snacks because we didn't have a kitchen. And they would say, Miss Betty, I'm still hungry. And sometimes I'd have to buy food, and it got to be very expensive, pizza and stuff like that, sandwiches. And then sometimes people would donate. And we always take donations for food because kids are always hungry. When they come here hungry, you can't function if you're hungry.
Right.
And some of the kids said, Miss Betty, I'm hungry. And like I said, kids stay hungry all the time. They want to eat. But I want to give them something healthy. And then every now and then we'll do a treat. We'll do ice cream, or we'll have some cookies or something like that. But I want them to know that, you need to start young, taking care of your health. So very important to take care of your health when you're younger, to work out, to condition your body. I teach them all of that. I did that in the recovery home in Chicago. We had workouts, and in Chicago, I took them over by the lakefront, and we walked along the lakefront. And some of them had never even seen the lakefront in Chicago. And we give the kids experiences that they would never be able to have if they didn't have this program. We expose them. Exposure is everything.
Yes.
Expose them to a lot of different things that they can do to make it in life. Life skills are so important. Etiquette classes last year, and we're going to do it again this year. Mr. Swaldo's wife, Linda Swaldo, she's such a sweet, lovely lady. She did an etiquette class. We took them to Gervasi, first class, and she taught them, how to properly sit in the napkin. I said, I learned some things too. Sometimes I don't know which fork to use if you have a lot of these forks and spoons and knives and things.
Right.
And she did that, and the kids they'll never forget it. So she said she would do it for me again, probably this fall. We'll have another etiquette class and what better place, right, than Gervasi. Some of them said, wow, I'm at Gervasi's. I'm like, yeah. So to expose them,
Sure, sure. And this
Important.
all falls under enrichment, is that correct?
Yes. Enrichment. And on Facebook, we're known as Enrichment of Stark County.
Okay.
But and enrichment is spelled differently because it's all capitals and it's got dashes in it. EN-RICH-MENT, because someone had it without the dashes. So, and we have the Enrichment Arts Education Center at 901 Market North in Canton, Ohio. You can't miss us. I mean, we just light up that corner. And at night, there are lights on our name. Mr. Swallow had the lights underneath the word enrichment. We got lights on the landscaping outside. It's just beautiful.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
People just ride by and admire, the beacon of light. Someone said you're a gem on the corner of 9th and Market.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So we're a part of a campus, really, because Arts in Stark is next door. And, they have the ballet, they have the museum, and they have Sing Stark over there. So we're part of that. Now they have a park next to us. So we have a park. If the drumline wants to go over there and practice, they can go over there and practice in the park. So it works out really well. Again, it's for the community, we just work together.
And all this, wasn't it like a $1.75 million campaign that, made this happen?
That's exactly right. And then as Mr. Swaldo got in here, he saw other things. He said, oh, we need this. I need a little more money. We need this. And, God just blessed him. I think he raised up to 2.1 million.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
I mean, and when you see the building, you'll see, this is just state of the art. It's just, he had the finest of contractors, and some of them donated their time, or donated materials, or it was a community collaborative effort, even with contractors and foundations project. And of course, we still need money because we have a beautiful building, but I need more classes now. I need more teachers, and it takes money, to do all of that. So that's very important. So we're constantly doing fundraisers. That's real important that I, still do that and raise the money. Sometimes our drummers will go out and we have a big sign that says drumming for dollars.
Oh, geez, so that's awesome.
Yeah, and the people love the drumming. So they'll come up and put money in the bucket. I remember this summer, 6 of the Bluecoats drummers came out on their day off, and they drummed with our drummers on a corner. And in 35 minutes, we had $255.
Oh, see, you're just fun, miracles follow you. Miracles follow you.
I'm telling you, I am blessed and highly favored. I'm blessed. But, because I have a passion and a love for people, and particularly the kids.
Right.
We have to take care of our young ones. And we start at age 5. Sometimes kids have already formed their own opinions and what they're going to do when they're that young. So you have to start young and putting the good stuff in them and letting them know they're loved and they're cared about, and keep them on the right foot. And we work with the parents and we work with autistic children.
That's what I was just going to say. I saw that you have a space for autism, kids with autism, and I've got 3 autistic kids. And, it would be amazing to see what you have there, what the facility is like.
Yes. We have a sensory room that's just, that was donated to us, a young lady named Miss Schumacher. She has an autistic son, and she told Mr. Swallow, I know what's needed in that room. And it's solid, it's soundproof, and it's got different lights in the room. It's got heavy weighted things that they can sit on. She said everything and we used it this summer. But I want to work with all kinds of all children. We're all God's children, and we get along, and they all love one another, and they take care of one another, and that's what it's all about.
And this is all free for everybody. Is that correct?
It is free. This they pay for no classes. Our drumline, color guard, dance line, they don't pay for anything. We buy their uniforms, their shoes, their socks.
That's
from
amazing.
Head to toe, because most of these young people cannot afford it. We're probably about 95% low to moderate income. Yeah, we are. And this summer, we had 192 in camp. And if I'd had more teachers and more money, I could have had another 30 kids in camp. We had to put them on a waiting list.
Okay.
But yeah, and we had 77 schools represented in our program this summer. Last year it was 55. This year, 77 schools. And this year, this is the first year they even came from other counties. We're primarily based with Canton kids, but they come from different schools. We had them from Malvern and Marlborough and Carrollton and Louisville. And they just, and they had a great time. Kids had a great time. You can tell who was from what school,
You don't give up on a child, do you?
You do not. I never do. There's no such thing as a bad child. I don't even like for people to say, oh, you're bad. And you never put that in a child's head because they'll think they're bad. And then they'll do bad stuff. We had one young lady, she came to very quiet, very reserved. And then she found out that she liked drums. And then she posted something on Facebook and she says, it's like, I have a reason now to go out of the house every day. I have enrichment. I have the drum line. I have Miss Betty. It was just heart-wrenching. Yeah. And I said, that's why I do it.
You're changing lives.
Yeah. And we have signs all over, Ann, that say enrichment. The arts save lives. We put those everywhere. I want enrichment to become a household name. People say, oh, enrichment. Oh, yeah.
It was the same with me growing up. I mean, the things that helped me were the arts, drawing, and being creative, and music. The music I listened to, and I also was in the band, and I played clarinet too, and I played piano.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have my kids in different music. They play piano and guitar and things like that. But I mean, I really believe, for one thing, it's a universal language, and it brings people together. It brings people together that would not have been together.
That's correct. That's correct. So I commend you, Ann, on your podcast and the things that you do and the experiences that you've had and still trying to help people. That's wonderful. We need more to do that,
In all the decades that you've been doing this, I mean, the kids that you were helping 30 years ago, or, are so much different than the kids that you have now. What are the biggest differences that you see with our kids today and the biggest needs?
I think we had problems before COVID, but COVID hit and the kids were isolated and they were at home and they had no social life. Okay. That's a carryover. And some of the kids are still being homeschooled. And I find that they have no social skills. So that's been a problem, but enrichment brings that out of them. That's why I was telling you the story about the young girl and she's now, wow, I found why I need to come out every day and do something. But the kids are just hardcore. The gang activity is real out there and not just Canton, it's everywhere. And so that's why programs like enrichment are so important to steer these kids in the right direction so they don't want to get because gang members are always recruiting. Kids. I've had young people tell me one was 7 years old and he said they were recruiting him, but he had a bad life at home and they know how to recruit them. They're very kind to them. They want to buy them things, take them, so the kids latch on to that. And he told me, he's Miss Betty, I was 7. And he said, they recruited me, and I'm like, oh, wow. He ended up going to jail. I think he was in jail maybe 3 or 4 years. When he got out, he came back to see me. He says, I'm a changed person now. I want to be on the straight and narrow. I want to do the right things, Betty. But I didn't know what I was doing. I was young, And so we have to watch that. And then some of the kids today, they have no respect for adults. But I think sometimes the parents are so young, and then some of the parents are afraid of their children. And one thing in enrichment, we're disciplinarians, and I let them know that you will not come in here and be up in anybody's face and tell me what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, because then you won't be here, And so they want to be here. So I said, we have rules and we have regulations. And I even had a few young people that I heard them just talking very disrespectfully to their parents. And I said, wait a minute, I said, I can't control what you do when you're out of here, but when you're here, you will respect your mom. You will do that. And then later I talked to him and, and he says, well, and then of course he wants to blame everything on mom, right? Mom, 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 mom. I said, but that's still mom and you must respect her. But we do have some of that, where the kids are just not respectful of their parents. And sometimes the parents can't control them. But we do have some parents that say, I do need help, and I'm thankful for your program because my son or my daughter love to be here. They feel safe. And they know Miss Betty is a strict disciplinarian, and some of them say, I think I need that. Kids don't want to be bad. I don't believe that. Be bad.
No.
I had a group come to me this summer, Ann, and they said, Miss Betty, we want to do better. And this was a spokesperson for about 5 middle school kids. And she said, we want to do better. We want to be respectful. We want to be here. And we're sorry, if we've caused you any problems. I was very touched.
Wow.
But I put them with a behavior specialist. So every week they would have a group session, and they were able to just talk. Sometimes we don't give young people an opportunity to express themselves. You have to let them talk, so we had an opportunity to talk about things that were bothering them. And then they had this person that knew how to interact with them in the appropriate way. So that's needed. We'll do that again this fall. So it's like whatever these kids need to make it, that's what I want to do here, at Enrichment.
And if gangs are trying to recruit them, it's really important that you are there, because
most
then
definitely.
It's, they have another place to go when these people are trying to bring them in. So there's another place that's offering them a different kind of love.
There you go. That's exactly right. And some of the children come here very broken. Some of them are very sad. Some of them don't want to be here at first. The parents just feel like this is a good place for you. And I've had some of them, and I have to talk to them too. And I always let them try different things. Okay, try working in a cooking class, or let's go to an art class. And I'll let them do 3 different things, and they usually find their niche. They usually find it. But art and cooking are very good, and gardening. My autistic children love the garden. They just have a wonderful time in the garden. And a lot of my kids with behavior problems, I send them to the garden, and they love it. Being outdoors, nature.
Get their hands in the dirt.
Yeah. There you go. That's right. And they love that. They love it. Yeah.
Yeah. My 3 autism kids love dirt. They love dirt.
See? Oh, so that's why the garden takes a lot of work. We need more volunteers in the garden. A couple of times I thought about closing it down. Then I was like, no, this is really good for the kids. It's healthy. I'll get some volunteers. I'll figure it out.
One of the other things besides COVID is, I really do think, is social media. I mean, I didn't have social media. You didn't have social media. And the things that it's doing, I mean, people can even be bullied, 24 hours a day, where it used to be just in the schools. But now people can reach other kids and
sure can.
Be
a lot of it
violating
goes on social media. Yes. We've talked it. See, I told my young people, I'm on your Facebook page, so you better be careful what you're putting out there, and don't block me. And some of them, they put things out, and I'll call them and I'll say, no, take that down, take that post down. You don't do this. You don't go at one another on social media, calling them names and stuff. And kids do that.
Right. Yeah.
It's bad. Yeah.
I tell my daughter, when she starts acting out with all of her behaviors, I say to her, you're too beautiful for this. You're too beautiful on the inside for you to be able to do things like this. And, and there's just a lot of ugly out there. And
yes, there is. There really is. And it's very tempting. And then if young people don't have support at home, it's even more enticing. So parents have to spend time with their children and talk to them. Like, find out what's going on. Who are you hanging out with? Where are you? Right. We get so, I think adults get so busy, and of course, sometimes some moms work 1, 2, 3 jobs trying to make ends meet.
Right.
But you have to remember you've got a child that needs you, and you have to set priorities and your child has to be a priority. Let them know that you love them and that you're there for them. That's so that kids just want to be loved,
Yeah.
and just a hug, and someone will come up and just grab me and just, Miss Betty, I need a hug today,
Right.
and I give them hugs. I hug our kids. I know you have to be very careful, sensitive
Right.
about that, but they feel the love. They know I love them,
Right.
and
And
they
really, isn't
come.
that all that we want? Isn't that all anybody
Listen, that's
wants?
right. I had one of my teachers come and to Miss Betty, I just need a hug today. And
Yeah.
I said, you got it.
Um,
Yeah. Adults, we need hugs too.
well, you really did touch on a lot, especially, what us adults could do for kids because
Oh,
we
yeah.
want to give them a chance in life, and it's not the
So,
world that we grew up in, and
no,
so we want to be able to give them a great start in life. I can't
yes.
stand that I see kids that are already tainted and broken at
Yeah,
such a young age that by the time
right.
they reach adulthood, it's already been set. And
That's
I
true.
too I too don't believe in a child that doesn't have a chance. Every kid has hope and a belief in
Yes,
them. If we believe in
right.
them, they will believe in themselves
That's right.
eventually,
That's
and it
right.
might take time.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But we have to do what we have to do to make the lives of these children better. We have to do that. And we know that there are some parents that won't do it. But
Hmm.
that's why we have enrichment, because we have people here that love the children in spite of where they've come from, and all the things. But we've also been able to churn some parents around to get involved in
Mm.
their children's lives.
I have to mention that you were named one of the over 80 who make a huge difference in the community.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that was
amazing.
nice. Yeah, that I was very I'm always just very humbled when something like that happens. That was Crane's Business Magazine,
Okay.
and it was 8 over 80, and they picked 8 people, and I was nominated, and it made me feel very good. Made me feel good. We don't do this kind of work to get awards and things, but it's nice to be appreciated. It's nice.
Well, then they learn more about your program too,
That's
you
right.
know? I mean,
And I do a lot of things for exposure to give us,
sure.
so people will know about us, so parents will know. So there's still a lot of people don't know about enrichment, that they can bring their kids here and it's free. And so we need that kind of exposure, to bring about awareness to the families that we're here. We're here for your children.
I know that you have some talent thing. Like I went to Canton Idol like years
Huh?
and years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, it was such a fun thing. And also, I mean, you have like a housing program, I think. I mean, you have lots of different, is there any other
Yeah.
programs?
I did Canton Idol for I did Canton Idol for maybe 12, 15, maybe 15 years.
Mm,
Then I had my own television show with Canton City Schools called
mm,
On Track with Betty Mack, and I would keep the community updated on things that were going on and for youth and
mm-hmm,
things like
mm-hmm,
that. So that was and so we're going to do our kids are going to have their own little podcasts and do some things,
mm,
because youth can reach youth, so they'll talk their
absolutely.
language and things that they can do. And that's important. And we also have a YouTube network that we're going to revive, and the kids are going to run that. They're going to run that, and it could become a job eventually. Everything we train them to do is so that eventually, they could make some money
Mm,
and have a job, that's worthwhile,
mm-hmm.
instead of selling drugs or something like.
You're just a beautiful person.
Well,
You
thank you,
really
Ann.
are.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this interview and talking. I love to talk about the kids and the families and the
Right.
things
And your
God has done in
passion.
my life to help others.
Well, thank you so much for being on Real Talk with Tina and Ann. Miss Betty, I am inspired by you every
Thank
single
you.
day. And as usual on Real Talk, we say that there is purpose in the pain and there is hope in the journey. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
listening.